Hey guys, tonight we are heading back about 1200 years, to a place where the mornings are misty, the seas are moody, and the personal hygiene is surprisingly meticulous. We're going to spend a day in a Viking settlement, and let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this. Not because of the epic battles or the long sea voyages, but because your modern immune system would likely take one look at the communal drinking horn and simply give up. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see where these stories are helping people drift off. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice isn't a sight or a sound, but a feeling. It's a gentle, persistent tickle in your nose, the kind that threatens a sneeze, but never quite delivers. It's the smell of smoke, not the sharp, acrid smoke of a forest fire, but the mellow, ancient scent of a wood fire that has been burning, in one form or another, for generations. It smells of oak, ash, and 1,000 slow-cooked meals. You're lying on something firm, but not uncomfortable. A raised wooden platform covered in layers of animal furs and scratchy, hand-woven wool blankets called verif. The air is cool on your cheeks, a stark contrast to the warmth cocooned around your body. Slowly, you open your eyes. The world is painted in shades of charcoal, amber, and deep, earthy brown. There are no windows, not as you know them. The only light comes from the heart of the Longhouse, a stone-lined fire pit that runs down the center of the vast, cavernous room. Flames dance and sway lazily, casting long, wavering shadows that make the carved roof support pillars look like slumbering giants. The ceiling is high above you, lost in a permanent twilight of swirling smoke that drifts upwards, seeking a small, hopeful opening in the turf roof. Historians still wonder if this was a genuinely effective ventilation system, or if a Viking's greatest passive skill was the ability to simply ignore a constant state of mild carbon monoxide poisoning. For now, you just accept it. The air is thick, but it's breathable. It's the air of home. Your other senses begin to awaken. You hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of others around you, a chorus of slow, deep breaths, and the occasional soft snore. There are dozens of people sharing this space. To your left and right, stretched along the walls on identical sleeping platforms, are the other members of your extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, children. Privacy is a concept that hasn't been invented yet, or at least, it's a luxury no one here can afford. You hear a gentle rustling, someone shifting in their sleep, the sound of straw bedding crunching softly under their weight. From the far end of the Longhouse, the end partitioned off for the precious livestock during the harshest months, you hear the low grumble of a cow and the faint sleepy clucking of a chicken. It's the Viking equivalent of a white noise machine. You shift, and the wool blanket feels coarse against your skin. You're wearing a simple linen undergarment, a basic shift that serves as both sleepwear and underwear. It's functional, comfortable enough, and probably a bit smelly, but then, so is everything else. The scent of unwashed bodies is a subtle undercurrent to the dominant aromas of smoke and damp earth. But it's not foul, it's just human. You run a hand over the wooden bench beneath you. It's smooth from years of use. This isn't just a bed, it's a piece of multi-purpose furniture. During the day, it's a place to sit, to work, to talk. And the space beneath it, hidden by a simple plank, is where you keep your few, most valuable possessions. A small wooden chest, a leather pouch, a spare tunic. Everything has its place. This is a life of practicality, not clutter. Someone across the hearth stirs more purposefully now. An older woman, her hair in too long, silver braids, sits up and reaches for a small clay pot. Her movements are slow, deliberate, ingrained by a lifetime of these smoky mornings. She adds a log to the central fire, poking the embers until they glow with renewed life, sending a fresh cascade of golden sparks spiraling up into the gloom. The light intensifies, pushing the shadows back just a little further, revealing more of your world. You can see the great, curving timbers that form the skeleton of the house, like the ribs of a beached whale. The walls are wattle and daub, a sturdy lattice of woven branches packed with clay, dung, and straw. It's an excellent insulator, keeping the brutal Scandinavian winter at bay. Asterisk, you sit up yourself, pulling the heavy wool blanket around your shoulders like a cloak. The cool air bites at your bare arms. You take a deep breath, the smoky air filling your lungs. It feels ancient, timeless. This is the way your ancestors woke up, and the way their ancestors woke up before them, in the quiet, communal dark, with the soft sounds of your family around you, and the steady beating heart of the fire at the center of it all. The day hasn't truly begun yet. These are the quiet, in-between moments, a slow, gentle easing into consciousness. There are no alarms, no schedules, only the gradual brightening of the sky outside and the growing needs of the stomach. For now, there is only the warmth of the fire, the weight of the blanket, and the calm, steady rhythm of the longhouse at dawn. Asterisk your fingers, still stiff with the morning chill, search in the dark space beneath your sleeping bench. They brush past the rough texture of a spare wool tunic and the smooth, cold surface of a drinking horn before finding what they're looking for, a small, oblong case. It's made of deer antler, polished smooth by countless years of handling. You draw it out into the dim, flickering light of the hearth. It's a familiar weight in your palm, a solid, comforting presence. This object is arguably your most important possession, more essential than your shoes, more personal than your knife. Inside this protective sleeve rests your comb. Asterisk, you slide the comb free. It, too, is carved from antler, its surface a creamy, honeyed yellow, darkened in places by the natural oils from your hair and hands. It's a beautiful thing, a small work of art. One edge of the handle is carved into the stylized head of a raven, its beak sharp and its eye a simple, drilled dot that seems to watch you knowingly. The main body of the comb is sturdy, with 2 rows of teeth cut with remarkable precision, one side coarse for teasing out the big, sleepy tangles, the other fine for smoothing and finishing. This isn't a luxury. It is a necessity, the first tool you reach for every single day. In a world before antibiotics, cleanliness is a form of defense, and keeping your hair free of dirt, debris, and tiny, unwelcome guests is a serious business. Historians debate whether this daily ritual was born of pure vanity or a practical war against lice. But as you hold the comb, you suspect the answer is a healthy dose of both. Asterisk, you run your thumb over the teeth. They are strong and firm. Making one of these is a painstaking process. An artisan would have to find the right piece of antler, saw it into a flat plank, polish it, and then meticulously saw each individual tooth. The pieces would then be riveted between 2 decorated side plates in your case, the ones that form the raven's body. To lose or break your comb would be a minor catastrophe. It's a significant investment, a mark of your status. You might eat stew with your fingers and a knife, but you would never dream of facing the day with a tangled mess of hair. The stereotypes of the wild, disheveled barbarian couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, you are part of a culture deeply, almost peculiarly, obsessed with being well. Archaeological digs consistently unearth a vast number of these combs, tweezers, and even ear spoons from Viking graves. It seems looking good was just as important in the afterlife as it was in this one. Asterisk, you begin the slow, methodical process of combing your hair. It's long and thick, and after a night of tossing on a straw-filled mattress, it's a formidable landscape of hills and valleys. You start with the coarse teeth, working gently from the ends upwards, breathing slowly in time with the repetitive motion. The sound is a soft, rhythmic scratching. A quiet counterpoint to the crackle of the fire and the soft snores that still echo in the hall. This is a private ritual in a very public space. No one pays you any mind. Around the Longhouse, others are beginning to stir, performing the same quiet ceremony. You see a bearded warrior, his muscles still heavy with sleep, carefully working a smaller comb through his magnificent beard. A young girl sits beside her mother, her head bowed, as the older woman patiently undoes her sleeping braids. This is a shared, unspoken understanding. The day does not begin until the hair is tamed. The process is meditative. It's a few minutes of calm before the chores and the noise and the demands of the day begin. You focus on the feeling of the antler teeth moving through the strands, the gentle pulling at your scalp, the slow restoration of order. As the last of the major knots gives way, you switch to the finer teeth. You draw the comb through in long, smooth strokes from root to tip. Your hair begins to lie flat, catching the orange firelight with a healthy sheen. There's a simple, profound satisfaction in this transformation. It's a small act of control, a way of preparing not just your body, but your mind, for whatever lies ahead. It's you, telling the universe that you are ready. With your hair now tamed and loosely plaited to keep it from your face, you feel the familiar urge for a moment of self-assessment. You need a mirror. Of course, there are no silvered glass mirrors here. That technology is centuries away and a world apart. Instead, you turn to the next best thing. Leaning against a large wooden chest near your sleeping platform is your family's prized shield. It's a formidable object, round and constructed of heavy linden wood planks bound together with an iron rim. But it's the large, central iron boss that serves your purpose. Polished to a surprisingly high sheen, its domed surface offers a dim, distorted, but serviceable reflection. You kneel before it, your knees sinking slightly into the packed earth floor. The Longhouse is still in that hazy, in-between state of waking, filled with soft movements and muted sounds. So your small moment of vanity goes unnoticed. You lean in close to the shield boss, your breath misting on the cool iron. The face that looks back at you is a stranger, and yet completely familiar. It's you, but painted in the sepia tones of the firelight. The reflection is warped, your forehead a little too wide, your chin a bit too narrow, like a caricature in a funhouse mirror. But it's clear enough. You can see the stray hairs that have escaped your braid, the sleep still crusting at the corners of your eyes. The faint impression a wool blanket has left on your cheek. You use a finger to wipe the sleep from your eyes, and then focus on your clothing. You're still in your simple linen shift, the foundational layer of any outfit. Over this, you pull on your primary garment, a woolen tunic, or the wool is thick and slightly coarse, but it's an incredible insulator. The color is a deep, rich red, a testament to the time-consuming process of dyeing with madder root. The idea of Vikings wearing only drab browns and grays is a modern invention. In reality, you live in a world of surprising color. Blues from the woad plant, yellows from weld, and this vibrant red are all signs of wealth and status. A well-dyed tunic is a quiet statement that your family can afford the resources and the time to create such a thing. Historians still debate the exact shades and who wore what. But the archaeological evidence of colorful textiles is undeniable. You smooth down the fabric. The tunic is a simple T-shape, common for both men and women, reaching down to your knees. It's held at the waist by a leather belt, from which you'll later hang a knife, a small pouch, and perhaps a few keys, if you were the lady of the house. Your own belt is plain but sturdy, its buckle made of cast bronze. Now for the final, essential touch. Pinned at your shoulders, holding a heavier wool cloak, or simply for decoration, would be two oval brooches. You reach for yours, stored safely in your chest. They are heavy in your hand, made of bronze and intricately carved with swirling animal patterns. a style art historians call gripping beast motif. You can just make out the intertwined limbs and gaping mouths of strange, dragon-like creatures. These brooches are not just fasteners. They are your savings account, your identity, and your art gallery, all pinned to your shoulders. They are stunningly beautiful, glinting warmly in the firelight as you fasten them to the fabric of your tunic. You lean back into the shield mirror to appraise the full effect. The red tunic, the bronze brooches, the neat braid. You look respectable. You look tidy. This careful presentation is a core part of your social language. It tells people who you are, what family you belong to, and that you have your life in order. A person with messy hair, a dirty tunic, or unpolished brooches is a person who is either very poor, very lazy, or in deep mourning. Your appearance is your resume, and you've made sure it's a good one. You notice something else in the distorted reflection. Behind you, the Longhouse is stirring more vigorously now. A young boy, no older than 7, stumbles past, his face still puffy with sleep, on his way to fetch water. 2 women are now working by the fire, grinding grain in a heavy stone quern. The rhythmic, grating sound, a new addition to the morning's soundscape. Their movements are practiced and efficient. Life is work, and the work is beginning. You turn away from your reflection. The shield boss holds its secrets, a silent, curved eye in the center of the room. It has reflected your face this morning, but tomorrow it might be reflecting the chaos of a battle, deflecting the blow of an axe. It is an object of both peace and war, a perfect metaphor for the life you lead. A life where a quiet morning of personal grooming can, in the blink of an eye, give way to the harsh realities of survival. But for now, the shield is just a mirror, and the face it showed you was one of preparation and quiet confidence. You are dressed, you are neat, and you are ready for a simple meal by the hearth. The day is no longer dawning. It has begun. The rhythmic grinding of the quernstone has softened, replaced by the gentle bubbling of a large, black cauldron suspended over the central fire. The air, already thick with wood smoke, now carries a new scent, the wholesome, earthy aroma of cooking grains. It's a smell that speaks of comfort and sustenance, cutting through the last vestiges of sleep. Your stomach gives a quiet rumble of approval. It's time for breakfast. You find a spot on the long wooden bench, the same one you slept on, and someone passes you a simple, hand-carved wooden bowl. It's warm to the touch, the heat from its contents seeping through the porous wood. Another person hands you a spoon, also wooden, its bowl worn into a smooth scoop from years of use. There's a quiet efficiency to it all. No formal setting, no calls to the table. People simply emerge from the dim corners of the Longhouse, collect their portion, and settle wherever they can. The heart of the home is this fire, and the family orbits it, like planets around a sun. You look down at your meal. It's a thick, steaming porridge, or grouter. This is the fuel that will power your day. It's made from barley or oats, boiled with water or milk until it's a hearty, substantial mass. A dollop of something creamy, perhaps skyra thick, tangy yogurt-like cheese, is melting slowly in the center. Sprinkled on top are a few shriveled, dark jewels, dried berries, likely bilberries or lingonberries, foraged and preserved from the previous summer. They offer a tiny burst of tartness against the mild, nutty flavor of the grain. It's not fancy, but it's deeply nourishing. The Viking diet, a fact often overshadowed by tales of grand feasts, was largely based on these humble, sustainable staples. Meat was a treat. Porridge was the reality. You take your first spoonful. The heat is immediate and welcome, chasing away the last of the morning's chill. The texture is pleasantly coarse, a world away from the smooth, instant oatmeal of the future. You can feel the substance of it, the energy it contains. As you eat, you observe the quiet theater of the Longhouse morning, the patriarch of the family, A man with a beard as vast and gray as a winter sky eats from a slightly nicer bowl, perhaps one with a carved rim. He eats in silence, his presence alone commanding a kind of gravitational pull. The children, wriggling on the benches, are expected to eat without complaint, though one small boy is trying, and failing, to subtly feed his share to a large, shaggy dog that has appeared as if by magic at his feet. Asterisk to drink. You are given a cup of something pale and thin. It's not water, and it's not the strong ale you might drink in the evenings. It's a sour, fermented milk product, a bit like a very thin, unsweetened kefir. The taste is sharp, and an acquired one, to say the least. It's the kind of health drink someone in the 21st century might pay a lot of money for. But for you, it's just a normal part of the morning, a practical way to preserve milk and get some probiotics, even if you don't know what those are. It cuts through the richness of the porridge and, surprisingly, leaves you feeling refreshed. Asterisk, you watch the two women who prepared the meal. They are still by the fire, ensuring everyone is served, their own bowls resting on a nearby stool, eaten from in stolen moments between tasks. The hierarchy is clear, but unspoken. It's a system of function and responsibility, a complex dance of duties that keeps the household running. Historians continue to debate the exact power and influence of women in Viking society. Were they powerful shield maidens, or were their lives largely confined to the domestic sphere? The truth, you suspect as you watch them manage the Longhouse with quiet authority, is likely a complicated and powerful mixture of both. They are the managers, the treasurers, the keepers of the keys to the food stores. Their power isn't wielded with an axe, but with the quiet, indisputable authority that comes from being the one who keeps everyone else alive. Asterisk as you near the bottom of your bowl, scraping the last of the porridge from the wood. You wonder about the subtleties of the flavor. Your meal is simple, seasoned only with what the land provides. But the patriarch's bowl, does it have a drizzle of precious honey? Perhaps a pinch of salt, a valuable commodity? For the extremely wealthy, a pinch of an exotic spice, brought all the way down the Silk Road and up the rivers of Russia, might not be out of the question. The food itself is a map of your world, telling a story of trade, status, and the turning of the seasons. Asterisk you finish your meal and place the empty bowl and spoon in a designated bucket, ready to be washed in the nearby stream. The warmth of the food has settled deep in your belly, a pleasant, solid weight. You feel grounded, ready. You push aside the heavy wool or hide flap that covers the doorway and step out of the Longhouse. The change is immediate and invigorating. The air outside is clean, crisp, and cold, carrying the damp, earthy scent of the nearby fjord and the faint, briny tank of the sea. After the perpetual twilight of the smoky interior, the morning light feels astonishingly bright, even through a thin veil of coastal mist that softens the edges of the world. You take a deep, cleansing breath, filling your lungs with air that doesn't taste of ash. It's like stepping from a warm, dark cave into a new, vibrant reality. Asterisk your settlement is nestled in a protective curve of land. A small collection of sturdy turf-roofed buildings clustered near the water. It's not a bustling city, but a working village, a hive of purposeful activity. The ground underfoot is a mix of trampled mud, straw, and gravel. Chickens, scrawny and industrious, scatter at your approach, pecking furiously at unseen treasures. A couple of goats, tethered to a post, watch you with unnerving, rectangular pupils, chewing thoughtfully on nothing in particular. The sounds are a symphony of labor, the rhythmic thump-thump of an axe splitting firewood, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer on an anvil, the cheerful shouts of children chasing a runaway piglet, and the lowing of cattle being led out to pasture. Asterisk, you look at the other buildings. They are smaller versions of your Longhouse, some serving as workshops, others as storehouses or homes for smaller family units. Their walls are dark, timber, or wattle and daub, and their roofs are covered in a thick layer of living turf, dotted with wild flowers and long grasses that ripple in the breeze. These green roofs are a quirky but brilliant piece of engineering. They provide excellent insulation, are relatively fireproof, and probably required a haircut once a year. Historians still find pollen samples in archaeological layers that tell them exactly what kind of landscape these people inhabited, right down to the weeds growing on their houses. Asterisk, you see your neighbors emerging, their days beginning in parallel to your own. A fisherman, his face weathered into a permanent squint by a lifetime of sun and sea, is mending a net, his fingers moving with a deft, hypnotic speed. A woman sits outside her doorway, her back straight, working a drop spindle, magically transforming a cloud of raw wool into a steady, strong thread. Her movements are so practiced, they seem effortless, a quiet, productive hum of energy. This is the reality of your world. Almost everything you own, use, or eat is produced right here, by the hands of people you've known your entire life. Asterisk, you walk towards the center of the village, your leather shoes making soft impressions in the damp earth. The shoes are simple, a single-piece construction known as a turn shoe, sewn inside out and then turned. They are comfortable and practical, but probably wouldn't last a week on modern pavement. You pass the heart of the community's industry, the blacksmith's forge. Even from a distance, you can feel the pulse of heat from the open-sided structure. The smith, a man with arms as thick as tree branches, is already at work, his face glowing in the light of the fire as he hammers a piece of red-hot iron into the shape of a nail. The sharp metallic ring is the village's heartbeat. His work is essential tools, weapons, nails for the ships, repairs for the cauldrons. He is a respected, almost magical figure, a master of transformation. Asterisk further on. You see a patch of cleared land, the community's kitchen garden. Women are already there, tending 2 rows of hardy vegetables, kale, onions, leeks, and beans. It's small scale, but vital for supplementing the diet of grains and preserved fish. A lesser-known fact is the surprising variety in the Viking diet, which wasn't all just salted herring. They cultivated herbs for both flavor and medicine, and foraged extensively for mushrooms, nuts, and wild greens. Your world is tied intimately to the seasons and the generosity of the land and sea. Asterisk, the mist is beginning to burn off now, and through a gap in the buildings, you catch your first proper glimpse of the fjord. The water is a sheet of dark, cold steel, its surface ruffled by the morning breeze. A few small fishing boats are already out, their single square sails looking like tiny white handkerchiefs against the immense, dramatic backdrop of the forest-covered hills that rise steeply from the water's edge. The sight is breathtakingly beautiful, a majestic, untamed landscape that shapes every aspect of your life. It is your highway, your larder, and your greatest defense. It is a source of profound beauty and sudden, terrifying danger. Asterisk, as you stand there, taking it all in, a sense of belonging washes over you. You are a single thread in this intricate tapestry of work, family, and survival. Every person here has a role, a purpose. The village isn't just a place you live. It's a single, complex organism, and you are one of its vital cells. The smoky Longhouse felt like home, but this network of communal effort, this shared space between the wild forest and the wild sea, this is your world. And in the center of it, in a small, unassuming workshop, is a man whose singular, meticulous skill underpins the very grooming standards you hold so dear. You decide to pay him a visit. Asterisk, you turn away from the grand vista of the fjord and navigate the familiar, well-trodden paths that wind between the houses. Your destination is a modest workshop, tucked away behind a larger building, distinguished only by the small pile of antler and bone scraps near its entrance. There's no sign, no advertisement. There doesn't need to be. Everyone knows this is where the camber maker, the comb maker, does his work. His skill is so specialized and so essential that his reputation travels by word of mouth, carried in tales of perfectly straight teeth and elegantly carved handles. The workshop is small, with one side left partially open to the air, allowing for light and ventilation. The air inside smells of sawn bone, wood shavings, and the faint, slightly sweet scent of heated antler. It's a dry, dusty, and not unpleasant smell. The master comb maker is already bent over his workbench, a low, sturdy table made from a single massive plank of oak. He is an older man, his hair and beard more salt than pepper, but his hands are steady, and his eyes, magnified slightly by concentration, are sharp and focused. He doesn't look up as you approach, his entire being absorbed in the delicate task at hand. You stand quietly in the doorway, content to watch a master at his craft. His name is Bjorn, and he is a quiet man, known more for the language of his hands than his voice. He is holding a small, flat plate of deer antler, which he is methodically sanding with a piece of dried fish skin, a surprisingly effective and readily available abrasive. The surface of the antler is already smooth, but he is chasing an almost impossible level of polish, his thumb rubbing over the surface again and again to check his progress. On the bench around him lie the tools of his trade, a collection that looks both primitive and remarkably sophisticated. There are small saws with fine metal blades, an array of knives and chisels with hand-carved wooden handles, and several drill-like tools, called augers, for boring precise holes. It's a testament to the incredible results that can be achieved with simple tools and a lifetime of practice. Having satisfied himself with the polish, Bjorn picks up another tool. It looks like a small double-bladed saw, and it is with this that he will cut the teeth. This is the most crucial and difficult part of the process. The teeth must be perfectly parallel, evenly spaced, and uniformly deep. A single slip, a moment of lapsed concentration, could ruin hours of work. He positions the saw at the edge of the antler plate and, with a slow, deliberate motion, begins to draw it across the surface. There's a soft, high-pitched zzzzzt as the teeth bite into the hard material. He makes one pass, then another, his movements economical and precise. It's a slow, repetitive, and deeply meditative process. There is no room for haste. You notice a bucket at his feet, filled with raw materials. There are chunks of cattle bone, long sections of red deer antler, and even a piece of walrus ivory, its creamy white surface hinting at a long and dangerous journey to acquire it. The choice of material is a lesser-known but critical aspect of comb making. Antler, shed naturally by deer each year, is the preferred material. It's more flexible and less brittle than bone, meaning the teeth are less likely to snap. A comb made of walrus ivory would be an object of immense prestige, a luxury item for a chieftain or a wealthy merchant. Bjorn, can read the unique character of each piece, knowing just where to cut to get the strongest grain. Historians often debate how standardized this craft was. Were there regional styles, secret techniques passed down from master to apprentice? Or was it a more universal skill set, developed independently in different settlements? Looking at the intricate designs on some of the finished combs hanging from a peg on the wall, some with geometric patterns, others with twisting animal forms, you suspect there was a healthy dose of individual artistry involved. Bjorn isn't just a craftsman, he's an artist, expressing the aesthetic of his culture in these small, everyday objects. He finishes cutting a section of teeth and pauses, holding the plate up to the light to inspect his work. He blows a fine dusting of white powder from the grooves and grunts, a small sound of satisfaction. Now, he will take this plate, and a matching one, and rivet them to a central handle piece, leaving the quiet focus of the comb-maker's workshop behind. You meander back toward the more active part of the village, drawn by a low hum of commerce and conversation. On a clear, dry day like this, a small, informal market often springs up in an open area near the docks. It's not a grand bazaar, but a simple gathering of locals and the occasional traveling merchant, laying out their wares on blankets or upturned barrels. This is where you come for the little things that make life more than just a cycle of chores, the small luxuries, the personal adornments, the Viking equivalent of bling. Asterisk, your eyes are immediately drawn to a woman sitting on a low stool. A colorful woolen blanket spread before her. On it, arranged in neat little piles, are hundreds of glass beads. They shimmer and glint in the sunlight, a treasure trove of color in a world dominated by wood, wool, and earth tones. There are deep cobalt blues, vibrant emerald greens, sunny yellows, and fiery reds. Some are simple, monochrome spheres, while others are intricate masterpieces of lampwork, with delicate stripes, waves, or even tiny, stylized faces trapped within the glass. You kneel down for a closer look. The allure of the shiny objects, as irresistible now as it will be a millennium in the future. Asterisk. You run your fingers through a pile of blue beads. They are cool and smooth to the touch. These beads are a cornerstone of Viking fashion. Both men and women would wear them, often strung on a cord between the two brooches that held their tunics, creating a beautiful and functional festoon. From these strings, they might hang other useful items: a small knife, a pair of tweezers, a decorative key, or that all-important ear spoon. It was a wearable, portable chatelaine, a personalized statement piece. A single, well-made glass bead could be quite valuable, representing a significant amount of labor or a long-distance trade. Historians can often trace the origin of these beads, with some coming from as far away as the Middle East, traveling the vast river networks of Eastern Europe to reach your remote fjord. Asterisk. The woman selling them gives you a knowing smile. She is a traveler, a merchant from a trading town like Burka or Hadibi. Her own clothing is slightly different from yours, her accent subtly foreign. She points to a particularly beautiful bead, a large one of milky white glass with a swirling blue pattern. From Francia, she says, her voice a low murmur. Very strong glass. Whether it's truly from Francia, or was made in a workshop just a few settlements away, is a matter of debate. But the story adds to its allure. Asterisk, your gaze drifts to the next stall, where a man with intricately braided hair is selling metal. His display is more muted, but no less impressive. There are bronze and silver rings, some simple bands, others twisted into complex knots or shaped like coiled serpents. There are arm rings, heavy bands of silver that serve as both decoration and a portable bank account. A quirky fact of the Viking economy was its reliance on a bullion system. A person might chop off a piece of their silver arm ring called a hacksilver to pay for goods. It was a practical, if slightly brutal, form of currency. Asterisk, you see ornate brooches, similar to the ones on your own shoulders, but perhaps more elaborate. There are trefoil brooches, penannular brooches for cloaks, and smaller delicate pieces for lighter garments. He even has a few Thor's hammer pendants, or Milnir, cast in silver. These were hugely popular amulets, worn for protection and as a sign of faith in the old gods, especially during the period when Christianity was beginning to make its presence felt. The man picks one up, its polished surface catching the light. It's a powerful symbol, a piece of wearable identity. Asterisk, further along, another merchant specializes in more organic treasures. He has a selection of beautiful amber pieces, the fossilized tree resin glowing with a deep honey-gold warmth. Some pieces have been polished into smooth pendants, while others have been left in their rough, natural state. A few rare, precious pieces even contain the ghostly forms of insects trapped millions of years ago. Amber was considered magical, a tear of the goddess Freya, and was highly prized all over Europe. The trade routes that brought it south from the Baltic coast were ancient and immensely profitable. You also see items made of jet, a black, fossilized wood from places like England, polished to a deep, lustrous shine. Asterisk, you don't have much to trade today. Perhaps a few dried fish, or a hank of well-spun wool. So you are mostly window shopping, but the experience itself is a pleasure. It's a connection to the wider world, a reminder that your small village is part of a vast, interconnected network of rivers and seas. The bead in the merchant's hand may have passed through dozens of hands, and traveled thousands of miles to reach this blanket by the fjord. It's a small, silent story of adventure, risk, and commerce. Asterisk, as you stand up to leave, your eye catches one last thing, a small, elegant pair of bronze tweezers, hanging from a leather thong. Next to them is a tiny, spoon-shaped object, an ear spoon. These personal grooming tools, often found alongside combs in archaeological sites, are a final testament to the Viking preoccupation with neatness. They were not just warriors. They were people who liked to keep their eyebrows tidy and their ears clean. You smile to yourself. The image of a fearsome raider, pausing to pluck a stray hair before heading into battle, is a delightfully human one. It's a reminder that beneath the bling and the bravado, people are just people, concerned with the small, timeless rituals of looking and feeling their best. Your tour of the small market has left you with an appreciation for the vibrant accessories that adorn Viking life. But you turn your attention now to the fabric they are placed upon, near the edge of the settlement, in a sunnier, more sheltered spot. Several women are gathered around a large, upright loom. The rhythmic clack-clack-clack of the wooden beams and the soft thud of weights is a familiar, comforting sound, the background music to village life. This is where the colorful tunics and sturdy cloaks you take for granted are born from clouds of raw wool. Asterisk, you approach the loom, a massive warp-weighted structure. It's a simple but effective piece of technology. Hundreds of vertical threads, the warp, are stretched taut from a top beam, held down by a row of carefully selected, heavy stones or clay weights that hang near the floor. The weaver stands before this curtain of thread, passing the weft thread back and forth, beating it upwards into a tight, dense fabric. It's a physically demanding and incredibly skillful process. You watch one woman, her body swaying in a gentle rhythm, her hands a blur of motion as she works a shuttle made of polished bone. Asterisk, the most striking thing is the color. A half-finished piece of cloth on the loom glows with a deep, heather-purple hue. The myth of a drab, colorless Viking Age couldn't be more wrong. While undyed woolen, its natural shades of white, gray, and brown was common for everyday work clothes. Those with the means and the desire lived in a world of vibrant color. The secrets were in the plants that grew all around you. You look over at a collection of large vats and pots near the weaving area. The source of this magic. One pot gives off a faint, cabbage-like smell. This is the woad vat, where leaves are fermented to produce a range of blues, from a pale sky blue to a deep, dramatic indigo. It's a smelly, complicated process, but the results are stunning. Another pot contains a sludge of madder roots, which, depending on the mordant used to fix the dye, can produce a spectrum of reds, oranges, and even purples. Weld, a humble-looking yellow flowering plant, creates astonishingly bright and resilient yellows and greens. A lesser-known detail is the use of lichens and mushrooms. A specific type of lichen scraped from a rock could produce a beautiful, soft purple, a color known as crotel. It was a form of alchemy, a deep, intuitive knowledge of the landscape's hidden chemistry passed down through generations, mostly of women. Asterisk, you run your hand over a finished bolt of cloth, folded neatly on a nearby bench. It's a diamond twill, a complex and beautiful pattern, woven directly into the fabric. The texture is dense and slightly oily from the natural lanolin in the wool, which makes it remarkably water-resistant. This quality is essential for the damp, cold climate and for life at sea. A good woolen cloak, or Verafelder, could shed rain almost as effectively as a modern waterproof jacket. Creating this single piece of cloth would have taken one person weeks. From shearing the sheep, to washing the wool, carding it, spinning it into thread, dyeing it, and finally, weaving it. Clothing was not disposable. It was a precious, long-term investment, repaired and patched until it finally fell apart, at which point it would be recycled into something else. Asterisk, an older woman, the master weaver of the group, pauses her work to inspect yours. She squints at the weave of your red tunic, rubbing the fabric between her thumb and forefinger. She nods in approval. Good wool, she says. Spun tight. It's high praise. The quality of your clothing speaks volumes about the women of your household. A fine, even thread and a tight, uniform weave are marks of skill and diligence. Asterisk, you wonder, as you watch the threads intertwine, about the stories woven into these fabrics. Historians still debate the extent to which patterns and colors held specific symbolic meanings. Did a certain border signify a particular clan? Was a specific shade of blue reserved for a religious ceremony? While there's little direct evidence, it's hard to believe that in a culture so rich with symbolism in their jewelry, on their rune stones, in their poetry, their clothing would be devoid of deeper meaning. The patterns might be abstract representations of waves, of shields, or of the interconnectedness of fate, a concept so central to your worldview. Asterisk, the process is slow, deliberate, and communal. The women chat as they work, sharing news, telling stories, and singing quiet songs. The weaving area is a social hub, a place of production that is also a cornerstone of the community's social fabric. They are not just weaving wool. They are weaving the bonds of family and friendship, passing on skills and stories from one generation to the next. Asterisk, you leave them to their rhythmic work, with a renewed appreciation for the clothes on your back. The rich red of your tunic seems brighter now, not just a color, but the result of deep knowledge, hard labor, and a kind of everyday magic. It is a piece of the earth, transformed by skilled hands into something of beauty and utility. It is your shield against the cold, a symbol of your identity, and a thread in the vibrant, colorful, and often misunderstood tapestry of your people. Asterisk, the sun is higher in the sky now, a pale, silvery disk that has finally burned through the last of the morning mist. The air is warmer, and the sounds of the village have settled into a steady, industrious rhythm. You find yourself wandering down the gentle slope that leads to the fjord's edge, drawn by the call of the water and the salty air. This is the village's lifeline, its highway to the rest of the world, the docks. Asterisk, don't picture a grand harbor with stone quays and towering cranes. The setup is much simpler, more organic. A few sturdy wooden jetties, built from rough-hewn logs, extend a short way into the dark, calm water of the fjord. Tied to them are the vessels that define your people. There are a few small, broad-beamed fishing boats, called frings, their tarred hulls gleaming in the sun, but dominating the scene, even at rest, are the longships. Asterisk, you stop at the head of the main jetty to admire one. It's a magnificent creature, long and slender, with a high, curving prow carved into the menacing head of a dragon or a serpent. It seems almost alive, a dormant sea monster resting in the placid water. Its lines are elegant and incredibly sleek, a masterpiece of naval engineering, built in the clinker style, with overlapping oak planks held together by countless iron rivets. The hull is designed to be both strong and remarkably flexible. This flexibility is the ship's secret weapon, allowing it to bend and ride with the waves of the open ocean, rather than fighting against them. It's a design perfected over centuries of trial and error. Asterisk, today, there is no sense of imminent departure or glorious return. The atmosphere at the docks is one of quiet, routine maintenance. A man is methodically applying a fresh coat of pine tar to the hull of a smaller trading vessel, a Nair. The smell of the hot tar is pungent and distinctive, a smell that for you is synonymous with the sea. The tar is essential for waterproofing the wood, a never-ending battle against the constant damp. He works with a brush made of bound animal hair, his movements slow and even, ensuring a thick, protective coat. It's a sticky, messy, but vital job. Asterisk, a short distance away, a group of men are working on a sail. It's not the iconic striped sail you might imagine from modern depictions, but a single, vast square of heavy, undyed wool. It's been taken down from a ship's mast and spread out on a patch of dry, grassy ground. The women who wove the cloth did their part, but now it's the sailors' turn. They are dressing the sail, rubbing a mixture of tallow, fish oil, and perhaps ochre into the weave. This unpleasant-sounding concoction makes the wool more water-resistant and less porous, helping it catch the wind more efficiently. It's a smelly, communal task, and the men laugh and joke as they work, their hands and arms coated in the greasy mixture. Asterisk, you walk to the end of the jetty and sit down, dangling your legs over the edge. The water below is deep and surprisingly clear. You can see shoals of tiny fish darting in the shadows and the slow, undulating dance of seaweed. You watch two boys, no older than 10, playing in a small rowboat, practicing their handling of the oars. Their movements are clumsy, but enthusiastic. For them, this is not just play. It's an education. Learning to read the water, the wind, and the currents is as fundamental as learning to walk. The sea is in their blood. Asterisk, historians often focus on the longship as a vessel of war and raiding, and for good reason. But as you look around, you see a more nuanced picture. You see the broader, deeper-hulled Nair, the workhorse of Viking trade, designed to carry cargo furs, timber, walrus, ivory, and slaves not warriors. You see the small fishing boats that provide a vital source of food for the village. The ship is not just a weapon. It is a tool for survival, for exploration, and for connection. It's a farm, a delivery truck, and a passport, all in one elegant, dragon-headed package. Asterisk, you ponder a question that experts still debate. How did they navigate? There are no compasses here, no set. The sagas speak of sunstones, perhaps a type of crystal like cordiorite that could detect polarized light and locate the sun on a cloudy day, but the archaeological evidence is scant and controversial. More likely, navigation was a complex art form, a blend of deep practical knowledge. You would have followed coastlines whenever possible, memorizing landmarks. In open water, you would have used the sun's position during the day and the stars at night. You would have learned to read the flight patterns of seabirds. Leaving the peaceful industry of the docks, you head back towards the main cluster of Longhouse. Your attention shifts from the tools of the sea to the tools of social standing, which are often one and the same. You see a group of men gathered near the largest Longhouse, the chieftain's hall. They aren't working. They are talking, negotiating a trade, or settling a minor dispute. And as you observe them, you are struck by the sheer magnificence of their beards. Asterisk, in your culture, a man's beard is far more than just facial hair. It is a billboard for his identity, a public declaration of his age, status, and masculinity. A full, thick, and most importantly well-maintained beard is a sign of a man in his prime, a man of substance. A thin, patchy beard might be a source of private shame or public ridicule. To be beardless, unless you were a very young man, would be unthinkable, a mark of low status, or even effeminacy. The sagas are filled with insults related to beards. Calling a man beardless was a grave offense, the kind of thing that could easily lead to an axe fight. Asterisk, you watch the chieftain as he speaks. His beard is a work of art, long and graying, but immaculately cared for. It's not just a wild cascade of hair. It is styled. It has been washed, combed, and oiled, giving it a healthy sheen. It's not just combed either. It is intricately braided or plaited, with two main braids falling down his chest, their ends bound with small, decorative silver rings. This isn't just vanity. The braiding keeps the long hair manageable and out of the way during work or a fight. Historians still debate the full range of styles, but evidence from carvings, picture stones, and contemporary accounts suggests that braiding, forking, and even trimming beards into specific shapes were all part of the grooming repertoire. Asterisk, your gaze moves to another man, a wealthy trader. His beard is shorter, but just as neat. Woven into it are several small, colorful glass beads, identical to the ones you saw at the market. They catch the light as he talks, tiny sparks of blue and green. This is a subtle but clear display of wealth. The beads are valuable, and weaving them into his beard is a way of saying, I am so successful that I can afford to decorate my face with my profits. It's a wonderfully direct and very public form of financial reporting. A quirky and lesser-known detail found in some archaeological contexts are tiny, specialized combs, much smaller than the ones used for hair, believed to be mustache combs for fine-tuning the look. Asterisk, you see how the beards play a role in the men's body language. The chieftain strokes his long braids as he listens, a thoughtful, commanding gesture. Another man, trying to make a point, tugs at his shorter, forked beard, a sign of earnestness. The beard is an extension of the self, a prop in the theater of social interaction. It can be used to project authority, wisdom, or agitation. Asterisk, this focus on facial hair was so pronounced that it even worked its way into nicknames. Many historical figures from this era are known to us by nicknames that described their beards. Harold Fairhair, Sweyn Forkbeard, Thorkel the High with the mighty beard. It was a defining characteristic, as important as their eye color or their height. Asterisk, you wonder about the practicalities. How do you eat soup with a beard that magnificent? It must have required a certain amount of care and a very specific technique. Perhaps that's why spoons, while known, were less common than knives and fingers. A spoon might just be too hazardous for a properly impressive beard. And what about the oils they used? They wouldn't have been scented with sandalwood or more likely, they were simple oils rendered from animal fats, or perhaps a vegetable oil like linseed or hemp, which would have had their own distinct aromas. Asterisk, the conversation among the men ends, and they disperse. Their points made, their business concluded. The chieftain gives a final, authoritative stroke to his beard, and turns to enter his hall. You realize that the politics of your village are conducted not just with words and wealth, but with this silent language of grooming. A man's ability to manage his household and his farm was reflected in his ability to manage his facial hair. A neat beard implied a disciplined mind. An untangled beard suggested an untangled life. It was a simple, visible shorthand for competence and reliability. Asterisk, you think of the comb you used this morning. The same tool that brought order to the hair on your head brings order to the faces of the men who lead your community. It's a small, humble object, but its influence is everywhere, shaping social hierarchies, defining masculinity, and ensuring that no matter how chaotic life might get, your people will face it with a very, very tidy beard. It's a strange, but oddly comforting pillar of your civilization. Asterisk, as the afternoon begins its slow, golden descent towards evening, a subtle shift occurs in the village's atmosphere. The regular rhythm of work continues, but there's a new energy, a sense of pleasant anticipation. Someone walks past you, carrying a bundle of fresh, sweet-smelling birch branches. Another carries 2 wooden buckets filled with water from the stream, steam rising gently from their surfaces. You know what this means. Today is Laugardalr, Saturday, or, as its Old Norse name literally translates, washing day. Asterisk, the popular image of the Viking as a grimy, unwashed brute is a persistent but deeply inaccurate stereotype, often promoted by the monks who were on the receiving end of their raids and perhaps weren't inclined to be charitable in their descriptions. In reality, your people are remarkably fond of cleanliness. An Arab diplomat, Ibn Fadlan, who met a group of Rus Vikings on the Volga River, was famously disgusted by their habit of sharing a single bowl of water to wash their faces and blow their noses in each morning. But other sources, like the English chronicler John of Wallingford, complained that the Vikings were too clean, bathing every Saturday, combing their hair daily, and changing their clothes regularly, all in a successful effort to seduce English noblewomen. The truth, as always, is probably somewhere in the middle. The morning face wash might have been communal, but the weekly deep clean was a cherished ritual. Your destination is a small, low-lying hut set a little apart from the other buildings. It's a simple structure of wood and turf, with no windows, and a thin curl of smoke is beginning to rise from a hole in its roof. This is the bathhouse, a precursor to the modern sauna. You enter, pushing aside a heavy animal hide that serves as a door, and are immediately enveloped in a wave of warm, moist air, thick with the scent of steam and hot stones. The interior is dark and intimate, lit only by the faint glow of the central hearth where large stones have been heating in a fire for hours. Now, water is being ladled onto them, and they hiss and sizzle, releasing dense clouds of steam or light. The air is almost heavy enough to drink. Along the walls are simple wooden benches, already occupied by a few other women from the village. In the dim, steamy light, bodies are just soft, relaxed shapes. All indicators of status: the bronze brooches, the colorful tunics are left outside. Here, in the cleansing heat, everyone is equal. You find a space on a bench and sit down. The heat is intense, but not unbearable. It sinks deep into your muscles, easing the aches from the day's labor. Your skin begins to prickle and then shine with a film of sweat. This is the first stage, the sweating out of dirt and impurities. The women speak in low, relaxed tones, their voices soft and muffled by the steam. The bathhouse is a place for quiet conversation, for sharing news and gossip in a way that is more intimate and unguarded than in the open village. After a few minutes, you pick up one of the birch whisks, known as a vita. It's a bundle of young, leafy branches, and you begin to gently whip your skin with it. It sounds strange, but the sensation is pleasant. The leaves stimulate circulation, open the pores, and release a fresh woodsy aroma that mingles with the steam. It's a rustic form of aromatherapy and exfoliation all in one. Once you are thoroughly warmed and sweated, it's time for the next step. You step outside into the cool air, which feels shockingly cold for a moment, and head to the nearby stream or Some of the hardier souls, with a shout and a laugh, will plunge directly into the frigid water. You opt for a more measured approach, using a bucket to scoop up the cold water and pour it over your head. The shock is breathtaking, but it's followed by an incredible feeling of exhilaration and cleanliness. You use a small, rough piece of wool as a washcloth and a simple lye-based soap that has a sharp, clean smell. You wash your hair, scrubbing it vigorously before rinsing it in the cold, clear water. Historians and archaeologists have found soapstone bowls and remnants of soap, confirming this was a known and used substance, not just a fantasy. The final stage is a return to the bathhouse for one last gentle wave of heat to warm you back up and close the pores. You sit on the bench, your body tingling, your skin feeling cleaner than it has all week. Your hair, dripping cool water down your back, is squeaky clean. You feel renewed, relaxed, and profoundly peaceful. The weekly bath is not just about hygiene. It's a social ritual, a form of preventative medicine, and a necessary luxury that marks the end of the work week and the transition into a period of rest. With your body feeling refreshed and thoroughly clean from the bathhouse ritual, you return to the Longhouse. The main work of the day is done, the animals are settled, and the golden hour is painting the world outside in soft, warm tones. This is a quiet, transitional period of the day, a time for small, personal tasks and meditative crafts. It's the Viking equivalent of winding down after work, a gentle pause before the communal evening meal. You find your spot on the bench, the familiar place that serves as your bed, your seat, and your workspace. From your personal chest beneath it, you retrieve a small leather pouch. Inside are a few chunks of raw amber, a piece of soft leather, and a lump of beeswax. Tonight's quiet task is polishing. Amber, the fossilized resin you saw at the market, is a beloved material. It is beautiful, surprisingly lightweight, and feels warm to the touch. It is believed to have protective, almost magical properties. Transforming a rough, dull piece of it into a gleaming jewel is a slow and deeply satisfying process. Asterisk, you pick up a piece of amber. In its raw state, it's covered in a dull, opaque crust. You use a small knife to carefully scrape this outer layer away, revealing the translucent, honey-colored material beneath. The flakes of crust fall away like shavings of wood. Once the shape is roughly what you want, a simple, rounded pendant, the real work begins. You don't have sandpaper, of course. Instead, you use a series of natural abrasive. You start by rubbing the amber against a coarse piece of sandstone, its gritty surface smoothing out the knife marks. The motion is repetitive, back and forth, back and forth. Your world shrinks to the feel of the stone against the resin, the soft, scratching sound it makes. Asterisk, as you work, the longhouse around you is filled with the quiet sounds of similar activities. An older man is carefully oiling a leather strap for a shield, his hands moving with practiced ease as he works the animal fat deep into the hide to keep it supple and strong. The smell of the warm leather and oil is rich and pleasant. A young girl sits beside him, mending a tear in a tunic, her small fingers pushing a bone needle with intense concentration. Her stitches are a little clumsy, but she is learning. These are the essential, life-sustaining skills of handwork that everyone is expected to master. Asterisk, once the amber is smooth, you switch to a finer abrasive horsetail reed. This humble plant, which grows in damp places, has a high silica content, making its dried stalks a remarkably effective natural polish. You rub, and a subtle shine begins to appear on the amber's surface. You can see tiny, ancient imperfections trapped within it, little bubbles of air from a prehistoric forest. Historians are often amazed at the level of finish achieved on artifacts with such simple tools, a testament to the immense patience and dedication of the artisans. The secret ingredient was always time. Asterisk, finally, you take your piece of soft leather, likely deerskin, and begin the final buffing. This is where the magic happens. With firm, circular motions, the amber's surface transforms from a hazy gleam to a deep, liquid glow. It feels warm in your hand now, not from the fire, but from the friction and its own strange, organic properties. You hold it up to the flickering firelight, and it catches the light like a trapped sunset. The process has taken a long time, but the result is a small, perfect thing of beauty, created by your own hands. Asterisk, your final task is to drill a hole through it so it can be strung on a leather cord. For this, you use a bow drill, a simple but ingenious tool. It's a sharp-tipped spindle that is spun rapidly by pulling a bow back and forth. Its string wrapped around the spindle's shaft. You hold the amber steady with one hand and work the bow with the other. The tip of the drill bites into the resin with a high-pitched whirry sound, and a tiny curl of amber dust, smelling faintly of pine, spirals up. It requires a steady hand and a great deal of patience. One wrong move, and the amber could crack, undoing all your work. Asterisk, you wonder about the people who did this for a living, who spent their entire days shaping and polishing these golden tears of the gods. Did they see it as a job, or as a sacred act? The line between the practical and the spiritual is often blurry in your world. A well-made tool is a prayer for a good harvest. A beautiful comb is a ward against misfortune. A polished piece of amber is a small fragment of trapped sunlight to hold against the long, dark winter. Asterisk, with the hole drilled, your work is done. You thread a thin leather cord through the pendant and tie it around your neck. The smooth, warm amber rests against your skin, a small, personal treasure. It's a quiet accomplishment, a moment of creative focus that has calmed your mind and produced something tangible and lovely. The longhouse is growing darker now, the smell of the evening meal beginning to fill the air. You carefully pack away your tools, your small, meditative task complete. You have not forged a sword or sailed an ocean, but you have participated in the gentle, essential craft of making your world a little more beautiful, one polished stone at a time. The last of the daylight has faded from the smoke hole in the roof, plunging the Longhouse into the primal, intimate glow of the central fire. The hearth, which began the day as a source of warmth and sustenance, has now transformed into the social and cultural heart of your world. The benches are filled, the day's labor is done, the tools are put away, and the air is thick with the savory smell of stew bubbling in the cauldron and the slightly sweet aroma of brewing ale. This is the time for stories. You sit with your wooden bowl of stew, a hearty mix of root vegetables, barley and welcome treat chunks of savory mutton. The meat is tender, slow-cooked 4 hours over the embers. You eat with your knife and a piece of coarse, dark bread, using it to soak up the rich broth. Around you, the noise level is a low, contented hum of conversation, punctuated by the occasional burst of laughter. The ale, served in shared drinking horns passed from person to person, is weak by modern standards, but flavorful and warming. It loosens tongues and softens the edges of a hard day. An old man, the grandfather of the household, clears his throat. A respectful silence falls over the group. His face is a roadmap of wrinkles, each line a story in itself. His voice, when he speaks, is a low, gravelly rumble, but it carries effortlessly through the vast room. He is the keeper of the family's history, the living library of your people. Tonight, he is not telling one of the grand, epic poems about gods and heroes, the ones a traveling skald might recite for payment. He is telling a local story, a piece of village lore. He tells the tale of a mischievous land wight, a spirit of the earth, who was known to sour the milk of any cow whose owner didn't leave out a small bowl as an offering. He describes the grumpy farmer, the series of comical mishaps, and the eventual, reluctant offering that sets everything right again. His telling is filled with witty asides and sly glances at members of the family who might be known for their own stubbornness. The children listen with wide-eyed fascination, while the adults chuckle at the familiar tale. It's a story that is part entertainment, part cautionary tale, and part a reinforcement of your worldview. A world filled with unseen forces that must be respected and appeased. After his story ends, the general conversation resumes, but it has a new flavor. Inspired by the tale, people begin to share news and gossip. You learn that a neighboring farmstead has a new foal, a good omen. You hear a hushed, slightly scandalous story about a young man from the next village who is trying to woo a girl from your own, and the general consensus is that he's not nearly good enough for her. This is how information travels, how social norms are reinforced. It's a living, breathing social network, conducted in the warm, flickering light of the fire. A slightly younger man, known for his travels as a trader, begins to speak. He doesn't tell a story of spirits, but a true tale of his last voyage to the trading town of Hidaby. He describes the sheer size of the settlement, the bewildering variety of people, Franks, Slavs, and even a dark-skinned merchant from the land of the Caliph. He swears. He talks of the strange goods for sale, shimmering silks, delicate glassware, and spices that smelled like nothing on earth. As he speaks, you try to picture it, this world beyond your small, familiar view. His stories are windows into a larger, more complex world, feeding the imagination and planting the seeds of ambition in the minds of the young. Key debate among historians is the level of literacy in the Viking Age. While the runic alphabet existed, it was primarily used for short, formal inscriptions on stones or personal items, not for writing down long stories. Your culture is overwhelmingly oral. History, law, poetry, and entertainment are all stored in the collective memory of the community and brought to life in moments like this. A person's worth is measured not just by their strength or skill, but by their memory, their wit, and their ability to tell a good story. Asterisk, as the evening wears on, the atmosphere grows more mellow. Someone brings out a tal harpa, a simple, four-stringed lyre. He doesn't play a lively tune for dancing, but a slow, haunting melody that seems to weave itself into the shadows. The music is simple, repetitive, and deeply melancholic. It speaks of long winters, of the vast, lonely sea, and of the bittersweet passage of time. No one speaks. You all just listen, lost in your own thoughts, lulled by the ancient sound. Asterisk. The fire has burned down to a deep, mesmerizing bed of glowing embers, and the Longhouse has fallen into a profound quiet. The drinking horns are empty, the stories have been told, and the soft, heavy breathing of sleep has begun to replace the hum of conversation. Before you settle down on your own platform, you find yourself reaching once more for the small, precious object in the case beneath your bench, your comb. Asterisk in the dim, ruby light of the dying fire, you slide it from its antler sheath. It feels familiar and comforting in your hand, a solid piece of your daily reality. But now, in the quiet of the near dark, you are not thinking of its function, of the tangles it removes, or the neatness it enforces. You are looking at its form, at the stories carved into its very surface. You run your thumb over the handle, tracing the intricate patterns etched into the bone. Asterisk, the artisan who made this, perhaps a man like Bjorn, did not leave the surface plain. It is covered in decoration, a miniature tapestry of symbols and designs. Along the spine of the comb, a series of interlocking lines forms a knotwork pattern. It's a design you see everywhere, on carved stones, on jewelry, on the prows of ships. To a modern eye, it might look like simple, pleasing geometry, but to you, it is something more. The lines have no beginning and no end, weaving over and under one another in an endless, looping dance. It is a representation of fate, of the interconnectedness of all things. It's a reminder that your life is a single thread woven into a much larger, cosmic design, its path determined by the Norns, the weavers of destiny. Asterisk, you turn the comb over in your hand, examining the side plates. Here, the artist has carved the raven that you noticed this morning, but now you see the details more clearly. Its feathers are depicted with a series of sharp, decisive lines. Its eye is a simple circle, but it seems to possess a stark intelligence. The raven is a powerful symbol, the companion of the god Odin. Ravens were creatures of thought and memory, flying over the world to bring back news to the Allfather. To have a raven on your comb is to carry a small piece of that divine wisdom and insight with you. It's a protective talisman, a ward against ignorance and forgetting. Asterisk, on the other side, there is another carving, more abstract. It's a series of straight, angular marks. These are runes. They are not a casual decoration. This is writing. The inscription is short, perhaps only a single word. You trace the shapes. Fehu, Urus, Thurisit. This isn't a sentence in the way you might think of one. Each rune has a name, a sound, and a deeper, symbolic meaning. Fehu is wealth, both material and spiritual. Urus is strength and untamed power. Thurisis is a giant, a force of chaos and protection. The exact meaning of these short runic inscriptions is a subject of intense debate among scholars of the future. Are they simply the owner's name, a maker's mark, or are they a magical charm, a spell of protection or good fortune? As you hold the comb, you feel the weight of the latter. This is a spell. It's a prayer for prosperity and strength, etched into the very tool you use to order your world. Asterisk, you think about the hidden language of all the objects around you. The dragon head on the ship's prow is not just to look fearsome. It is to ward off the evil sea spirits. The swirling patterns on your brooches are not just pretty. They are meant to confuse and trap malicious forces. Your world is saturated with meaning, with a constant, silent conversation between the physical and the metaphysical. An object is never just an object. A comb is a tool for grooming, yes, but it is also a shield against lice, a statement of social status, an artwork, a storybook, and a magical amulet. Asterisk. This dual purpose, the intensely practical married to the deeply symbolics, the hallmark of your culture's art. There is little art for art's sake. Beauty is woven into the fabric of the functional. A sword hilt is ornately decorated not just to be beautiful, but because a beautiful sword is a better sword, one that will be favored by the gods of battle. A humble wooden bucket might have a band of carving around its rim, elevating a simple chore into a small act of beauty. Asterisk. You gently clean the teeth of the comb, your thoughts drifting. You wonder who owned it before you, if anyone. Perhaps it was made just for you. You pondered the hands that carved it, the deer that shed the antler, the raven that inspired the design. The object in your hand is not a dead, inert thing. It is a convergence of stories of nature, of craftsmanship, of myth, and of your own personal history. It has absorbed the oils from your hair, the warmth from your hand. It is a part of you. Asterisk. You slide the comb back into its case. The fit is perfect, a satisfying, snug closure. The runes are hidden now, their power turned inward. The raven is asleep in its sheath. The endless knot is still. You place it carefully back in its secure spot beneath your bench, ready for the morning. The small, final ritual of the day is complete. You have not just tidied your hair, you have engaged with the deep, symbolic language of your world, reaffirming your place within its intricate, interwoven pattern. Asterisk. The old lyre player has put his instrument away, and the last of the evening's ale has been drunk. The great Longhouse, once a hall of stories and quiet laughter, has now fully transformed back into a communal bedroom. One of the older women moves to the fire, using a long stick to push the unburnt logs to the center and cover the embers with a thick layer of ash. This is called banking the fire. It's a vital, final chore that keeps the coals alive until morning, while preventing stray sparks from igniting the dry, wooden structure as you all sleep. The room dims dramatically, the bright orange glow softening to a faint, pulsing red that barely pushes back the encroaching darkness. Asterisk. You make your way back to your platform, your footsteps silent on the packed earth floor. You arrange your bedding, a straw-filled pallet that serves as a mattress, covered with a soft sheepskin, fleece side up. For a blanket, you have your heavy, familiar Varifelder, the thick, shaggy wool cloak that serves you just as well for sleeping as it does for traveling. You slide under its considerable weight, and the immediate cocooning warmth is a profound comfort against the cool night air that seeps through the walls. Asterisk. You are not alone. Of course, the entire Longhouse is settling down. The air fills with the soft sounds of sleep. The rustle of straw as someone finds a more comfortable position, a quiet sigh, a soft cough, and the deep, rhythmic breathing that seems to synchronize into a single, gentle cadence. From the other end of the hall, you hear the low rumble of the chieftain's snore, a steady, authoritative sound that is, in its own way, deeply reassuring. To sleep so soundly is to be without fear, and his peace transmits itself to the rest of the household. Asterisk. You lie on your back for a moment, looking up into the smoky darkness of the high-peaked roof. Through the smoke hole, you can see a small, perfect patch of the night sky. A few stars glitter like scattered chips of ice, impossibly bright and distant. The lack of light pollution offers a view of the cosmos that is both terrifying and beautiful in its sheer clarity. You feel your own smallness under the vast, silent gaze of the stars. Asterisk. You shift onto your side, pulling the furs up to your chin. Your pillow is a simple, firm sack stuffed with wool, or perhaps the feathers of eider ducks. A luxury, but not an impossibility. A lesser-known but charming detail from the sagas mentions pillows, or kadi, as important household items. Some people, especially warriors on the move, might simply use a log or their shield. But here at home, a measure of comfort is expected. This small domestic detail paints a softer, more human picture than one of hardened raiders sleeping on bare ground. Asterisk, as you lie here, on the edge of sleep, you wonder what the people sleeping around you dream of. It's a question that no historian can ever truly answer. Do their dreams replay the day's events, the polishing of amber, the mending of a net? Or do they dream in the language of the myths and legends they were just told? Do they sail phantom longships through starry fjords? Or argue with mischievous landwights in fields of impossible green? Do they meet their gods? Thor with his hammer, and Odin with his ravens, in sleeping visions. Their minds, shaped by a world of magic, sagas, and the ever-present forces of nature, must produce dreams of a very different texture than those of the future. Asterisk, the air is cool on your face, but you are warm under your mountain of wool and fur. The scent of wood smoke, so sharp this morning, has become a soft, sleepy background fragrance, the perfume of safety and home. The great, communal breath of the Longhouse rises and falls around you. You are one breath among many, one dream among dozens, all sheltered together under the same turf roof, protected from the vast, dark wilderness outside. Your body feels heavy, your thoughts slow, drifting like the last lazy curls of smoke towards the stars. The day is done. The journey is complete. You close your eyes and let the darkness take you.